Okay, so hopping into this one, and yeah, that was the other thing. Spectruhh's bringing that delicious Acronox water cannon combo. That's what I was looking at. That actually is looking to be pretty frightening into 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 immediately bring fast aggression into it tends to be like, you know, its weaker point. That said, Rishi, as we mentioned, is no slouch in this. We see the Tulkyn's already banned out here, which is a good call when you've got both low ollie and a 2-vine waiting in the wings. So it'll be fun seeing how else Rishi reacts to this. 2 waters open with a Tulkyn still on the board. Curious one.
Yeah, definitely curious indeed. I mean, he could just keep it straightforward with that 𝗧𝗵𝗃 𝗧𝗵𝗶, but does he go for double water? I think that leaves him too exposed to Minotaur. Instead goes for the 𝗧𝗵𝗆 just to try to get some good pressure going forward in case that Minotaur does get picked up. But, you know, in front of a 𝗧𝗵𝗆, I dare say that's a lot of tempo lost because you're automatically having to swap that out because of that massive CPG looking straight at it. And instead putting the pressure back on that 𝗧𝗵𝗆, right? So that is what the Tokon is for. That is what the counter pick is for. But this is still a good job by Spectruhh, right? He knew that the Tokon could get picked up, which is exactly why that 𝗬𝗂𝗃 was also picked up. So good trade potential all around for these guys. I'm not too sure who it favors though, because 𝗬𝗂𝗃 is just such an impactful Temtem, and you could just easily swap out that 𝗧𝗵𝗆. But we'll see. Maybe we get both of these tamers swapping out as early as turn 1.
It's a very volatile lead plus. I definitely agree. Like, on paper, I think Spectruhh is in a great position here, but like, there is a reality where you could just double into 𝗬𝗂𝗃 with Drill Impact Windburst and it just goes down without quite KOing either of these, depending on how bulky the Tulkyn is. I know some people have been favoring, like, you know, bulkier, slower Tulkyns, so that's a possibility too here. Also, this draft just blew by us. I'm very sad to see that we won't be seeing Valiar this time, this game. I've been really excited the fact that it's gotten so many new tools, but I guess we'll have to wait for that for another day. In the meantime, we'll have to watch the Blessed Lumas on Rishi's side and these brilliant poses. Look at all this drip.
Yeah, so much drip, right? Rishi in particular with that nice little maroon suit that we mentioned in the past. And hey, Quarter, is that a little white tie as well? Fresh to death.
Oh, yeah.
I love it. I love it. But here we go, folks. It is our game number 1 of our semifinals. Is MrRishi gonna make another finalist position, or is Spectruhh finally his time? Is it his time to shine, and will he be in those finals here today? I am excited to find out, of course. Let's go ahead. As Quarter said, this is a bit of a volatile lead. Does the 𝗬𝗂𝗃 stay in, or rather, apologies, does the 𝗧𝗵𝗆 stay in, or does the Tokon stay in? This is gonna be interesting to say the least.
Honestly, this 𝗬𝗂𝗃 is just chilling. The fact that it's camo as well means that it's not got any damage sort of penalties this turn. It's perfectly fine. We do see the 𝗧𝗵𝗆 does dip, as you suggested there. The Rolder's coming in. We see a bunch of swaps here. The Minotaur is hopping in as well to start scaring away that 𝗬𝗂𝗃, hopefully, as the Fiery Soul will be landing in, whiffing onto that Rolder. Barely any damage from that, and that water cannon's going to hit true for, oh my god, that almost just takes it out. That's rush territory if this Rolder's packing it.
Oh, very true. Some rotors do tend to run that. We've seen rotors not even have a stone ball, so for sure it's not impossible for this rotor to be working with that rush. So impressive, you know, Spectruhh just keeping it straightforward, clicking those green circles and almost eliminating that Tokon as early as the opening turn. I do like this Minotaur coming in, but it looks like Spectruhh covering that base as well, right, with that rotor swap in. And now it almost feels like all the pressure is benefiting Spectruhh, right? Aquatic World went online. Stone Ball, I would assume if he's running it, of course, that is always online. So all the effective damage, if you will, with the exception being the hasty lunge from the Minotaur if he does want to stay in. But it doesn't feel like too advantageous just to do some damage on 𝗬𝗂𝗃 if you can't follow that up with the tornado, right? Oh,
I mean, so we do see the move flank hops in here instead. If this is anticipating an electric move into that side, that's actually pretty cool. Obviously, the Tulkyn was never going to be staying in here. I was kind of hoping we would see the Tataru though, because Bullet always feels better on these boards because you just get so much more damage output from it. We do notice that, of course, we do not have a taser on this Minotaur. That's a very important thing to bear in mind there because it's a very common gear on it. So it leaves us wondering what that possibly is. Did we get a peep on that in Swiss and I didn't notice it, or?
You know, I'm willing to bet it's the nice little classic adrenaline shot, right? Most times, if you're not running the taser, you probably have the A shot there, just so that you don't overexert with those hasty lunge. But now we see it retreat.
Yeah, that checks out.
And now the grandpa coming in. So is this a turbo turn? I was just about to say the choreography coming in, +3 on each side. You know, does it kind of bite the dust though? Tatter just hanging on. That first aid kit coming in clutch. I love that quarter. First aid kit on Tatter. I know he's been working in it for this week, but in the previous tournaments, he never had a first aid kit Tatter. So this is always impressive.
Yeah, I was going to say usually it's like what, Nut Bar or Res Badge. First aid kit's a really spicy pickup there, but it really did Rishi well here. We saw how much damage Spectruhh had to invest into just throwing into that Tatter as is. And now, of course, you've got that Major Slash online for later. You can just sort of dip with it. It's at a relatively comfortable percentage. And Raven's going to come in to eat the hit. So that should be fantastic as well. The Grandpa's kind of got the pick of this board. Very capable of responding to a lot of separate things here. We do see the Minotaur coming in on that side, so that is a bit scary there. But honestly, if this is like some stare action, something like that, that could still be very effective.
Oh, and a little bit of a ouchers there. The 𝗬𝗵𝗶 coming in as the Tokon comes in, but the hyperkinetic strike might not even need the fiery soul. But you know, one thing that is really well done for Spectruhh is that Minotaur, huh? The Minotaur pressuring out both the Tokon and the Grandpa. And you know, it is a mental Temtem, so you can't go ahead and use that speed advantage to your advantage with that hypnosis on it. So yeah, these electric techniques are certainly to pack a punch. But the question is, do you want to just close it out on the Tokon, or would you rather prefer to do more damage on the Grandpa? Because you have to start chipping away eventually, because those HKSs, they will start adding up, of course, right? Especially with the sweatband involved.
Rishi, so first off, I completely agree with you there. Like, Spectruh's Minotaur is putting in work here. An important thing to note, though, is if Rishi swaps, he actually gives Spectruhh a lot of positioning here, because Rusher is going to start coming online, and we have a hasty lunge synergy here. So, like, if Rishi wants to go for the jugular here and take down the Chim, he kind of just has to leave the Grandpa in the danger zone, because like if you swap Roller anticipating the lunge on that spot, then you're potentially sacrificing your entire Tulkun. Not that there's much of it left, but like that's a reasonable shot for killing the Chim.
Yeah, definitely. At least we still haven't seen a Tornado, right? So if you ever be on the same board as a move flank or the 𝗬𝗫𝗃 without the quad whirlwind, a Tornado will be taking a good chunk of that remaining HP, of course. So you could have a fair point to just try to save that Tokon down the road. But, you know, maybe you'd rather not have damage done on your backline Temtem as well. But if it is thinking of a hasty lunge, maybe Rotor could come in here and try to eat it. Oh, you were right. It wasn't the rush on the Rotor, but the rush on the 𝗬𝗵𝗃. Impressive stuff from Spectruhh.
Yes, indeed. That does mean that we're going to be getting a lunge into the Grandpa. That's a colossal amount of damage there as well. Good eyes there, Malzahn. Calling that out in chat. As, yeah, with that rush, obviously the Chim's OX'd at this point. It's chilling at 21%. Spectruhh doesn't really mind that going down here, and it certainly got value off. So now, I mean, the Roller coming in here is like obviously fairly spooky, but the 𝗬𝗫𝗃 is just such an easy pivot in here onto the Minotaur spot even. I mean, you could make an argument that you could just go Black Hole here instead, swap the Roller on the 𝗬𝗵𝗃 spot, try to get the synergy on that, be real cheeky, maybe even try to get rid of that +5 speed on the Grandpa, but I don't think that's necessary here. I think you just keep going face.
Yeah, I believe so, right? It would be a little cheeky to remove the +5 speed, but as you mentioned, I do think it's a bit unnecessary. Rather go ahead and do some bigger damage on that 94% still remaining on the Rotor. But interesting decisions, right? Because you could go for the Black Hole, or you did do well over 50% from that first hasty lunge, right? So might as well, if you think you could go for it again. Rotor's the only one that takes ineffective damage. The Tatter in the back line still doesn't take that quite well, right? So I don't want to say it's like a free hasty lunge in that spot, but it doesn't feel bad at all.
You aren't wrong at all. There's absolutely nothing stopping Spectruhh from just hammering into that Grandpa slot. If he has Pyte's Electric Blow online, I believe it's like one more turn before it comes up. So if we don't see any punishment on this Minotaur, then it could just take away this game.
Oh, and it looks like that +5 speed coming in clutch because the HKS does outspeed, but the 𝗧𝗵𝗶 was on his way out either way, but there is a confirmed kill there. But as you mentioned, the Piezo Electric Blow, that's going to be overkilling the Grandpa, but you had to take it down one way or the other. But you know, this Stone Ball doesn't do the entire job, almost taking it down. I believe you're in the realm of a nice little goring if you even want to.
I mean, that goring is going to be there, but at this point, once again, by design, like Minotaur is only going to be getting stronger here, as it will be getting that +2 speed again. It should be able to get off like a cheeky black hole before all said and done, or another hasty lunge, because it did not overexert from that Piezo Electric Blow. It's got the ability to drop another move off here, and it is outspeeding this Minotaur. It could even maybe finagle a Sparkling Bullet, and the more damage you push into Rishi while you've got this Tem advantage, the better.
I think so as well. MrRishi likes to have those setup turns, like those turbos, like those stairs. So if you just don't let go of the gas, it does end up benefiting you in the long run. And we're seeing that from Spectruhh right so far, as you mentioned, does have that Tem advantage and a little bit of the current speed advantage with that +2 speed Minotaur. How does he get it done? A hasty lunge doing about a 30%, but overexerting, so maybe all the damage onto the rotor. The goring coming in is Black Hole online, but the purgation setup. Nice to see that one.
That's bold, in my opinion, because like while it's definitely something that favors Rishi here, because +2 roller is just like a truck. We have a full HP damn near 𝗂𝗏𝗃 that's just kind of ready to disembowel that roller. I mean, sure, it's going to have reactive vial, but the roller's not renowned for taking special defensive hits super well. That's going to be like 50% of its health. It's got 37% stamina. It's a little bit rough.
Yeah, definitely. I like what you're saying, the 𝗂𝗏𝗃, and it didn't hit the board yet, or did it? Am I mistaken? Did it hit the board already for 𝗬𝗏𝗶 online?
It did. It does have a water cannon. Well, it did a water cannon on the Tolkien like way at the start, so it does have a 𝗬𝗏𝗶 online.
Okay. You know, there could be a way then, because Quadric Whirlwind tends to do somewhere in that neighborhood of like 60, sometimes 70% on a rotor. So if you could get that rotor with some nice neutral damage from the move flank and the rotor on Spectruh's side, and if you get it into that 60 to 70%, maybe just one Quadric Whirlwind, you completely buy-side the reactive vial, right? And the nice little 3-priority double kick taking down the Minotaur.
Also saves the goring for more damage later. We love to see it. With that, the Tataru will be coming in, and now like Rishi's at this awkward point where you got your buffs, but your back's against the wall. 30% on Tataru, 70% on Rolder, facing off against two reasonably chonky Tems here. Like the Rolder can go down, but the move flank's barely been touched.
Yeah, definitely. I'm wondering, I don't think Held Anger, I believe it was one more turn for Held Anger to be online, but if it was, potentially it could take down one of these Temtem. But the goring going first, that is why you don't mess with the untouched rotor. So man, Tataru getting nothing off, but the +2 attack goring almost doing the job. But with that said, the 𝗂𝗏𝗃 is still just chilling in the background, right? That should be virtually over, and I think MrRishi knows that very well. So GG, our underdog, if you will, Spectruhh taking down game number 1. Let's go ahead and join them for that second game in our semis.
Hell yes. All right, hopping in now.
And all right, looks like he wasn't too scared of the potential 𝗧𝗵𝗆, just going quite straightforward with that Minotaur. But of course, just in case the 𝗧𝗵𝗆 did come in, he does pick up the Tokon. So just like the previous turn, not as volatile, I would say, but still a lot of damage capabilities, right? The Tokon on the 𝗧𝗵𝗆 and the 𝗧𝗵𝗆 on the Minotaur. So yeah, actually, I don't think the Minotaur can stay in, right?
Yeah,
Rotor.
That Minotaur is looking very threatened. It's a very unfortunate thing to see. It's one of the downsides of first picking Minotaur on blue side is that if your opponent just decides to like hammer you on orange, then you're kind of forced into a reposition. You've got some good ones here, but you're just eating -2 speed. Once again, draft is just rocketing through here. We see, of course, the Tolkien Minnow ban and the 𝗬𝗬𝗵𝗶𝗴 ban. It's gonna be cursed. I'm never gonna see the Valiar here.
Right, I've been seeing a little bit on his stream, of course, and he's been using it quite well. That effective denial, 30% reduction off effective techniques. It is insane. It only takes about like 30% or so from a hasty lunge from a Minotaur, right? So yeah, it's quite impressive. Indeed, indeed. And it looks like Spectruhh catching wind of how impressive it is, which is unfortunately why we won't be seeing it in our semis. But here we go, guys. Game number 2. Does the Minotaur stay in? I say no, but let's take a look at the back line. What does MrRishi have available to him?
Well, I do think that Rolder is a really easy pivot in here because, you know, it's going to eat that CPG like a champ unless Spectruhh, like, takes that opportunity to just, like, swap on the 𝗬𝗃𝗃. Really easy board if we assume that the Rolder's coming in there for, like, the Chim to just swap and then you just do a cheeky stone ball into that spot anyways.
Yeah, you know, Minotaur is very, very important in this matchup. If we take a look at Spectruh's side of the board, 𝗬𝗃𝗃𝗵𝗃, we didn't see these double water Temtems in the first game, right? And if we take Minotaur out of the equation, those two Temtems, I don't want to say single-handedly take down the remaining of Rishi's Tems, but they do a whole lot of heavy lifting indeed. So we'll see. As we notice, Minotaur does have to step out, and in comes that Grandpa, and oh, the 𝗬𝗵𝗃𝗃 not liking that Fiery Soul potential, so in comes the move flank.
Yep, this makes a lot of sense. Obviously, don't leave your Chim exposed there. The Fiery Soul is going to get some good chip on that move flank, though. Not as much special defense on the move flank in general. So with that, we are going to see a burned Drill Impact do respectable chimps, just under 25%.
Yep, not too bad. You definitely see that the Drill Impact nerf, and of course the heater applying that as well. But not too bad. Move flank does come in here. It unfortunately finds himself already about mid HP. So something like another Fiery Soul, pair that up with a Hyperkinetic Strike. I dare say that should be enough for the move flank. And you can't say the same thing about move flank, right? A double kick, a goring, I guess that could do a good amount. But pairing that up with a Rotor, I'm not too sure if it's going to take either of these birds down in this same turn. So yeah, this is looking like a tough spot for Spectruhh so far. Or apologies. Yeah, for Spectruhh so far.
We just see the Whip Lump come in to try to eat either of the attacks on the Tolkien there. Pretty reasonable reposition there, and it hits back hard. The Tornado does come out because it was the move that, you know, hits more things unresisted. But the Whip Lump just devours that. Barely any damage from that. The Turbo is going to still give Rishi some good momentum there, but that immediately removes the juice from Tolkien there. Eating the Goring and dropping a NATO down means that this Tolkien's kind of just out of steam.
Yeah, anything from the Wimplump, or not anything, but the water can from the Wimplump will be taking it all the way down. I believe that's the only thing that could take that Temtem down as of right now. The Drill Impact not going to be enough. Looking at the damage that the Goring did, of course. But, you know, the bigger problem right now, I dare say, is that Grandpa, right? Full 100%, +3 speed, HKS still online, Hypnosis is still online. He could just kind of simply hypno the Wimplump. It is a plethoric Wimplump, so I know it's going to be rather speedy, but it's still, that's 75% on the Grandpa, right? So I do think the Grandpa has a bit more of the speed. And now you could just control that spot, but let's see what Spectruhh has in mind. He looks to be retreating, and oh, the double water opener, or rather just the current board. How does MrRishi respond?
As you were right, we do see the Hypno land in on the Whip Lump, as you predicted, and it does outspeed there. The Grandpa is usually very high spec, and the Windburst still doing a lot of damage into that 𝗬𝗃𝗃𝗃. Just goes to show that Tolkien still has access to some very strong stamina-efficient moves, and getting that cheeky hit in there when you know you've got that speed advantage is one of the things that Turbo really does shine with. Obviously now, kind of a scary board still. I think that you can, as Spectruhh here, just kind of let your Whip Lump T-pose for a second and just like let it come in next. But like I'm a little worried about this 𝗬𝗏, honestly. Yeah, sure, the Tolkien's not a threat to it, but we have a reasonable thing to absorb that. The Tatar is probably going to eat water cannon pretty comfortably, and the Grandpa can just throw into it with the HKS.
Yeah, but I don't think that Tokon overexerted her, did it? Because if it did not, a tornado at +3 speed might just be fast enough to outspeed the aquatic whirlwind online, right? We saw how much damage that simple wind burst did, so I think a tornado will be more than enough. So this is maybe a bit of a problem for Spectruhh if it did not overexert. Did you catch that?
It did not overexert, but are you are we sure that Rishi wants to expend his best tool against 𝗬𝗵𝗶 against this 𝗬𝗏?
Yeah, you're so right. That's why we're seeing it retreat. Doesn't want to go too heavy. As you mentioned, Taru does come in. Does 𝗬𝗏 keep it straightforward and go for an aquatic whirlwind on that spot? Or does he think Grandpa might be more of an issue? And the HKS, maybe you didn't need the tornado if you have the HKS killer. Unbelievable.
Yeah, there it is. We're seeing here that Spectruhh isn't running necessarily a very bulky 𝗬𝗏 based on the damage that we saw from both of those. Obviously, like that's some strong special attack on that side, but that was also a lot of damage that 𝗬𝗏 took. So also goes to show there precisely how it did so much to that Tolkien last game. Good notes to take. The plethoric whip lump still has its trade online. That 6% really putting in the legwork there. So it potentially could still put in a little bit of extra work there. It's got the alert, so it can't get slept this turn.
Yeah, it cannot get slept. You can't say the same about the 𝗬𝗵𝗶, but I'm not too sure if you want to go for Hypnosis. I'm wondering, I don't think it's another turbo from Rishi, will it?
Oh, no, never mind that. We're on Stare now. Correctly anticipating the bait as well. That's fair.
Yeah, doesn't want to go for anything other than Stare, but the Sharp Rain, it will be online. It will be targeting the Grandpa. This should be doing quite the number, about 42%. The CPG trying to follow it up. Is it enough? No, 17% remaining, but the major slash coming the 𝗬𝗵𝗶's way. This tends to be quite the glass cannon. And oh, it hangs on by a little hair though. Man, what a turn right there.
That was a pretty staggering one. Definitely a lot of heavy blows exchanged right there. The Stare and Tataru beatstick tactic definitely coming in clutch here. Also, unfortunately, so if that was Res Badge, that would have killed. But that first aid kit came in handy so much last game. So I can certainly respect the gear change up. But damn, that 𝗬𝗵𝗶 being dead would have been so awesome right now. We see the Rush just getting that last little stab in there before all said and done. The Hypno online again, just sleeping that whip lump, keeping the momentum on Rishi's side. Always good to keep that pace when you have that advantage. You stop your opponent having the action economy, and the 𝗬𝗵𝗶 is down for the count, bringing Spectruhh down to 3 Tems.
Yeah, definitely looks like little by little the likelihood of Spectruhh taking the W in this game too is slipping out of his grasp. So that control from the Grandpa at +3 speed paying so much dividends, right? That is the second time the 𝗬𝗵𝗶 gets put to rest. And the Stairs, another one. The Rotor does not like the sound of that, especially considering the fact that Held Anger is online. But forget the Held Anger. Major Slash should be decent for some good damage.
Yeah, we had the extra energy slam last turn, so that does mean the major slash is online again. We have the Held Anger available even at such low stamina for the next turn after that. The -2 defense, the move flank being low, means that at this point, Spectruhh really needs to make sure that there's something put on the table here. And with the Minotaur landing on the board, this whip lump feels horribly out of position.
Yeah, and if we look at the back line, I guess it's only the move flank, which doesn't really eat that quite well as well, right? So yeah, Rishi just putting the gas on this game. He's letting Spectruhh know, you're not going to be taking me down that easy, right? Which is why I said we can't always count out MrRishi. We looks like we might be heading ourselves into a game 3 situation, considering the fact that Rotor is still in the back line. And if you're able to not take too much damage on this Minotaur, of course the Rotor is staring him down, so easier said than done. Then that 𝗬𝗶 doesn't seem too problematic, but everything stays in. Wait a second, these have to be the mind games at work.
Okay, the Minotaur eats the Sharp Rain and immediately claps back with the bullet, taking down the only thing that scares the Tolkien in the back. The Helldanger will be confirming the kill on this roller at -2. I'm just going to assume that's going down. Yeah, there it is.
Oh, and it looks like it overexerted just a tad little bit, so Tattoo unmobilized for this falling turn. But this is just way too much of a Temtem advantage on MrRishi's side, so he will be not letting go, and we are heading ourselves to a game number 3.
I guess the next question here is Spectruhh going to adapt again?
Yeah, you know, we were questioning that Minotaur opener, but so far it worked quite well for MrRishi the second game, so he might just be keeping it quite straightforward for this third game, right? Minotaur Tattoo get the Sparkling Bullet synergy for that 𝗬𝗫𝗃. And, oh, okay, that does make sense. We did see this in the past, 𝗬𝗫𝗃 just so the Minotaur doesn't go for that Sparkling Bullet. And I think Spectruhh has been keeping things straightforward, right? Minotaur on the board, you throw a CPG in that direction. So that's pretty much, I believe, what Spectruh's game plan is for this opening. But yeah, I do like the Tattoo pickup here because it does some decent damage on the 𝗬𝗵𝗃, right? Something like extra energy slam into a major slash. That might just be enough to take it all the way down, but I'm not too confident about that, so we might have to just wait and see.
If nothing else, it does great damage into the 𝗬𝗫𝗃, even if the Minotaur has to dip here, which, I mean, it makes sense. There's nothing in here immediately scaring the Chim. As usual with these guys, the bracket is just racing, but we actually get to see the big V. Let's go.
The 𝗬𝗺 does get picked up, so finally we get to see it here in our semifinals. Let's see how MrRishi utilizes this awesome Temtem. And you know, Quarter, just kind of a little off topic, I never noticed. Did you notice that the 𝗬𝗺 has like teeth under it? Do you see that little horn?
Yeah, it's got that little tusk. Yeah. It's a whole thing.
I've never noticed that. I thought that was part of his like his little what would you call it? The little
like
mane.
The neck fur? Yeah.
I thought that was the neck fur, but I pulled it up in the game. I'm like, wait, are those his like? Is there a tusk down there? It was interesting. But hey, getting back to the game.
It's a fun vibe. Yeah, no, back to the game. I definitely think that like obviously with the Cimmerian swapping here, very easy thing to do. No, Rishi just goes balls to the wall and just tries to confirm the kill on the 𝗬𝗫𝗃. This is gonna be a straight trade turn 1, as the CPG is still gonna be landing in on this Minotaur. So like, we're just immediately opening this turn 2 with 4 Tems on either side.
Wow, impressive. It looks like these guys just want to trade 1 for 1. Let's try to look at the backline, who it ends up benefiting, right? So Minotaur looked pretty good for that Tolkien. It looked pretty good with the black holes on Moonflank and Rotor. But on the other hand, right, 𝗬𝗫𝗃 was posing quite a threat on that Rotor. And then let me look at the backline. Oh, the Tolkien. You know, I think that was quite literally an even trade. Mad respect to these guys just holding their ground and none of them flinching. We thought the Minotaur was going to be retreating, but no, not today. Just trying to get the advantage as soon as possible. And now, with this Tolkien on the board and 𝗬𝗫𝗃 eliminated, Tolkien looks like an incredible Temtem for the rest of this game.
You're not wrong. There's not really, like, Spectruhh just has to hit into it with Moonflank at this point. I mean, I would say that the Chim has to dip, and it does look like Spectruhh does agree here. We see the Tolkien hop in as well.
Okay. Yeah, both Tolkiens hitting the board. Let's see. I agree with you, Corey. I think you do have to throw it into Tolkien, but no, instead he goes after the Tattoo. But Spectruhh, knowing where he has to do, he is focusing down that Moonflank, but the turbo choreography, making sure you don't do any damage because of that little burn tick there. Might as well get the speed, and that is a big amount of speed indeed. 75% increase, as we mentioned in the past, so those tornadoes are always guaranteed to go first. Even Windburst at this point is guaranteed to pretty much go first. But yeah, I do think a tornado probably a little bit better, and there's not really too much good swap-ins. Everything takes a good amount of damage, I will say.
How right you are. Tornado into the Moonflank is effectively free here, as we can see, dropping into it right now, just deleting the move from the game. Very unfortunate that it didn't get that much value here, as it looks like you were bang on the money at the end of game 1. Rishi is coming in strong and reminding us why he is such a consistent placer at these tournaments. I may be calling my money a little early here, but Spectruhh is certainly on the back foot from that trade onwards, going down to 3 Tems, already won at 50% as well. Like, the rollers still not looking to be in the best spot here. You can just kind of hammer into that with both of these Tems. The Valiar in the back kind of is a little bit of a liability here for Rishi. If the Chimerian just stays in the back, though, we could see a reposition here out of him. But no, he just elects to keep on trucking and just slam into the Tolkien this time.
Yeah, just pushing the pace, pushing that speed advantage and not letting go. Spectruhh just trying to hang in there, but he cannot, right? The speed advantage is so crystal clear, and oh, making matters worse, the first 8K will be proccing, and now there's nowhere to run. Quarter, this was the fastest game 3 we've ever had.
This has been... in the blink of an eye, we're down there, and here we are. We're done. Rishi has won the semifinal in record time. Ylr immediately banned out there. I know that people have still been finding new ways to use that Tem, despite it being forced into new positions. So definitely good to see Turbi respecting it for what it can be, which is definitely a solid slugger regardless. Obviously seeing a Garunder picked into a Vola makes a lot of sense here, but we do see the Acronox as well. So Turbi's really, Plat's really front loading those Toxics.
Yeah, definitely. Maybe trying to get some good answers to things like that 𝗂𝗏𝗃, things like the Inky. But now with the blue side on Turbi's side, that 𝗬𝗏𝗽 posing quite the threat onto the Acronox, right? The hook into Dust Vortex. I know it's going to be neutral damage, but still, that does go up to +2 attack on that second turn. And if you follow it up with a little feather Gatling action, because the Garunder doesn't have any turn 1 electrics, right? Unfortunately for that little Garunder, maybe does something like a purgation on himself, trying to get the party rolling later down the line. But I think so far, Turbi has a solid board in that opening bell.
Do we know if Plat's on Intimidator Tyrannac? Because if that's the case, he could completely disarm this Asukai turn 1 here.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was. Last time I checked, it wasn't an Intimidator Tyrannac.
Because then you could just like force it to use its Haggard special attack stat, which would make it a lot harder for it to get that oomph in on that turn 1 there. But it looks like he's not electing to pick it. Goes for the Nagais instead and just front loads every, like the Guldur, the Purgations, and the Arachnite for good measure.
And here we go. We did not expect it, or maybe in hindsight, we should have perhaps expected this game to go a little bit longer than the other one. But this is it, guys. Final game of our semifinals before we get the pleasure of seeing our grand finals. So one of these guys will be moving forward, and this is interesting. Snrplat has been there the most times out of any tamer in our Plus tournament's history. But Turbi slowly but surely getting up there as well. He was one of our 2 weeks ago. He was our champion. So he got a little taste of the goat as well. So does want to do it one more time. But this is an interesting turn, right? I think all the pressure feels like is on that Acronox, but I could be missing something, of course.
No, you're right. That Acronox is looking like it's a little bit in danger here. I would say that like in our draft, solely in our like turn 1 here, Turbi definitely is looking to be in a stronger position, being able to just throw the Feather Gatling in or drop a cheeky Purgation onto Hook Asukai to get it to a frightening +4 at the beginning of our turn 2. That could be a very spooky thing for Plat to deal with. Plat doesn't have a lot to respond with on turn 1 is kind of the issue there. Garunder takes a while to get online. It's actually just going to dip here for the Nagais, attempting to turn everything on its head once again. The Volarant going to make that a little bit spooky though, because as you mentioned in our last game, Nagais being so low means it doesn't really get to take too many hits.
Yeah, this could be a read. This could be a read if we go for Noxious Bomb. We know that's the anaerobic Volant from the past. So does he go for the straightforward Noxious Bomb on that left-hand side? And it is quarter. Is it enough for 51%? Oh,
and it's down. Turbi sees it coming.
Yeah, what a read. Impressive. Turbi understanding that the Garunder did not have too much to do, so the Naga is most likely coming in. That is a potential huge momentum swing as early as that opening turn.
Yeah, no, that's very unfortunate. You can see, as people mentioned in chat, good shout there, Paka, as 𝗧𝗵𝗵𝗶 was getting stung, so that way the beta burst could come in as a, like, horrific claw, because 𝗧𝗵𝗵𝗶 has an unfortunate special defense stat. But Turbi reading that very clearly and just sniping it with the Valorant there. Of course, Sweatband Valorant capable of investing a lot more into its attack rather than anything else here. Arachnite getting the adaptive proc off there and resisting the toxin shower, of course. Just kind of vibing here. Now going to resist the noxious bomb as well.
Yeah, not too shabby, but the damage has been done. Is about 1/3 still remain, but the water cannon, I don't think it had too much special attack, but enough special attack with that toxic take on top of it. So the 𝗬𝗂𝗽𝗽 going down, which makes the 𝗧𝗵𝗃 feel a whole lot safer. I say that, but a 𝗬𝗺 is still on the board, so not necessarily too safe. And of course, the 𝗬𝗃 could come in as well, and those uppercuts do tend to do quite a number on the 𝗧𝗵𝗃s.
Agreed. On top of that, you know, that 𝗵𝗶𝗴 also kind of, this is one of the better boards that you could expect the 𝗵𝗶𝗴 to be in. Like the back line really just loves eating it. Oh man, I didn't realize it was lunch. That's even more horrifying here, because Arachnite, all of Arachnite's moves are frustratingly expensive. We saw there the water cannon. I think that's the cheapest one it's got. Kind of hard for it to click that here, but the T-Strike, that's gonna eat its stamina bar, something fierce. 𝗧𝗵𝗃 at least can stay on this board. If we see an intimidation to bring it back at us here, that's something, but you can make an argument for 𝗬𝗺 just kind of sneaking in on that spot.
Yeah, we'll see. Just trying to anticipate perhaps. Well, hey, this is 𝗵𝗶𝗴's first turn, right? So only has things like what? Rotten goo, a water
𝗬𝗃𝗽,
blade.
I think is.
Oh, 𝗬𝗃𝗽. True.
Actually, I don't know if it was on 𝗬𝗃𝗽, because it had plus speed previously, but I don't remember where that was coming from. We do see the 𝗬𝗺 swap in, though.
Oh, and it looks like it's going to be a double swap. So the 𝗂𝗪 and the 𝗬𝗺 coming in. So if it's a 𝗬𝗃𝗽, but the water blade, I was almost about to say water blade, but not a lot of 𝗵𝗶𝗴s do run it, but nice to see a Turbi. Turbi is indeed running it, so the water blade would have done a good amount. The feather gatling probably would have closed things out, and now the 𝗂𝗪 taking about 35%, not too bad. But now it seems like a board that doesn't get too much across against Turbi, because 𝗵𝗄 still one turn left to go online, right? So the 𝗬𝗺 still feels rather safe for the time being.
I mean, that's a perfect amount of time for Plat to get 2 purgations onto his 𝗬𝗺 in a single turn.
And you know, perhaps that's how he did it last turn, and exactly as you said, the purgation number 1. Is there a purgation number 2? So
there
this crocodile might be eating up all these Temtems. Now 𝗵𝗄 is online. These wastewaters on these toxic Temtems is not going to be receiving too much damage, but is definitely going to be dishing out the pain. Not too crazy, but enough to try to get some good damage across, of course.
Yup, at this point, I do think that John Cena is going to be pretty valuable for Turbi here, getting that P-jab off, perhaps, something like that in there. We do see Plat being very careful with his now jacked 𝗬𝗺, keeping it in the back, not letting it go down too early here, as the uppercut is going to land in on the Arachnite, which is going to take the hit and just crumble.
Yeah, I was like that little knockout animation from the spider, but the purgation on the 𝗂𝗪, interesting enough, it doesn't seem like it's going to be too impactful, but might as well, right? Might as well. It looks like he wasn't going to do too much damage either way, so at least it could do about 50% more damage going forward, right? The 𝗬𝗺 is not on the current board, so it's not going to be going down with just 2 hits. And you know, 𝗬𝗪𝗀 has ton of value against non-toxic Temtems, right? So 𝗬𝗪𝗀 just doesn't feel all that great. It's just going to be, as we mentioned before, slow and steady. But we'll see how much the wastewater does.
Now, normally, I would say that Turbi would be in a really spooky position here. If this 𝗬𝗪𝗀 was packing Bark Shield. We've seen all 4 moves on this 𝗬𝗪, though. We know it's packing Spores, A-Spread, Narco, and Toxic Ink. So Plat doesn't have anything to worry about there. But if there was a Bark Shield coming out here, that would have stopped Plat dead in his tracks.
Oh, I could totally see that. Bark Shield is such an impressive technique, but little by little, this Garunder might just be the true win condition for Snrplat. It's always a tough matchup in those Toxic v Toxic, but when you have +6 damage coming in, on top of protecting it for a single turn, the refreshing Diabolo. We don't see that too often.
Okay, that's some impressive tech as well there. This brings the Goulder fully back online, which honestly, okay, not great into John Cena, not great into 𝗧𝗵𝗵𝗴, real good into the Yggdrasil and the 𝗵𝗵𝗺 though. So like still a respectable secondary win condition here, especially if this Garunder can steadily just muscle down this Yggdrasil. We see Toxic Fang in there for the stamina efficiency. Mad tech right now.
Yeah, and with that +2 from the Goulder, it does close things out. And this is, as we mentioned, the difference maker, the Purgation. There's not any Purgation users on the side of Turbi, and it's looking like it's making a world of difference for the side of Snrplat. So well done so far. You know, speaking about Snrplat, the Magia of the 𝗵𝗵𝗺 does come out here, but it looks like it's not going to be doing too much, right? Water Blade is ineffective. The Toxic techniques are ineffective. And as we saw before, Paizo is online, but I don't think you want to use it, right?
Oh God, not this turn. Not unless you want your win con to melt.
Exactly.
This feels like a great time for Plat, however, to just reposition into the Acronox and let that take a couple hits. Garunder's got plenty of time to get its stamina back up, and really all you gotta do now is just muscle down the 𝗵𝗂𝗃, and it's just kind of a free ride. Oh man, Acronox took nothing from that Whirlwind. It took more from the uppercut than that, so it's clearly a very specially defensive set.
Yeah, it looks to be that way. +1 speed from the whip, or apologies, from the slingshot. Can it get off anything here? I mean, I don't know. Everything seems ineffective, right? The soil steams, the stings, the venom spreads, or I mean, it can't even click venom spread because you can't even add toxic ticks on these Temtems. So Acronox may be just a little bit of a throwaway Temtem. And you know, we were giving Snrplat a lot of credit with these Purgations. Oh, but the Toxic Spores, Showers, keeping it with that evasion for this turn, huh?
Yep, it's just going to keep it around for that much longer. We do see that that forces Turbi to just throw an MrRishi in there to try to get the evasion off. It's not too much, but it's just that much more of an obstacle, as this does mean that now Plat's like still at a bit of a Tem disadvantage here. Like he does have this jacked crocodile, but with it at just around a third of its health, it's going to be hard pressed to confirm things here when it still has an entire parry or 𝗵𝗂𝗃 to deal with. And of course, parry 𝗵𝗂𝗃 still has some pretty stamina efficient moves, as we've seen with it just throwing those uppercuts out there. And like Goulder can't win this match on its own.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I believe we're seeing the side effects of that early turn 1 read, right? The Nagais was absolutely necessary for this 𝗵𝗂𝗃 because that's the most problematic Temtem to take down. The Paizo takes down the 𝗵𝗵𝗺. The Paizo, when it comes online, takes down the Vulrin. But as you mentioned, who is taking down this parry 𝗵𝗂𝗃 is almost looking very, very dire situation for Snrplat. And perhaps we were discounting Turbi's position this entire game because he's looking quite good with Paizo Electric Blow offline and not going to be able to use it for the next 2 turns. This might be a bit problematic for Magia.
Well, we do see that he's throwing the bamboozles in on the Garunder, just trying to keep it alive for a little bit longer, and just sort of like he sees where the aggression's going here. I think both of these players are very like understanding of where the threat on this board is. But we also see that Turbi's not willing to let his attacks not have value, as he actually debates Plat and just is throwing these reads out there as he goes for the Goulder instead with the Feather Gat, wasting a turn where Plat was going to boozle the Garunder again to make sure that he kept it safe. But now Garunder's naked and exposed. No evasion's going to stop that uppercut from wiping it out. The Goulder's in a bad spot. It's looking like this is Turbi's game, plus.
I think so as well. We were giving Magia so much credit with those Purgations, but Turbi looking good all along. It seems that Vulrin keeping it safe in the back line. Oh man, you know, that play right there was good from Turbi as well. Not popping the bamboozle and giving the one more evasion for that falling turn. That could have been a difference maker. Let's see how much this uppercut followed by the 𝗹𝗵𝗻𝗶𝗴. Wait a minute, I thought you wanted to close things out, but maybe he just closes things out now. Just another uppercut and another. But wait, Paizo's 3 priority. Isn't he a little bit... Oh.
Okay, to be real here, even if the Volaran goes down here, which, yeah, it will go down, we're back to the question we were asking just a couple turns ago, which is, how does Plat, with 2 Tems that do not, well, 1 Tem that does not have a lot of attacking capacity. Oh, that's how. Never mind. Hopeless Tonic Guldur. The last piece of the puzzle falls into place here. Absolutely mind-blowing tech coming out from Plat here. Purgation on the Guldur means that's not gonna matter at all. As he removes that, gets up to +4, and has all his stamina against a Mashuk that has no stamina at all. Up to 44%. We are back in this game.
Yeah, incredible. Truly, truly unbelievable. The Guldur with the Hopeless Tonic. I don't think anyone saw it coming, and to make matters worse, that is a punching bag Guldur. Look at that lick. It's doing more damage than the uppercut. I do think Snrplat might have just pulled one out of his hat. Oh,
it's the outtrade. The stamina is a bit rough on Plat's side, but this is way too much damage for that to feel like it's mattering at this point. Both players are gonna have to rest up a little bit just to make sure they can keep swinging at each other, but this has absolutely turned this game on its head.
Oh, 100%. What an awesome tech, right? Hopeless Tonic with the Purgation, and that is exactly how Magia gets it done. Snrplat will be moving forward into our grand finals.